like if you ever want to slow time down, it's watching somebody else trying to sort something else out on the computer.
Well, that and planking. So,
Yeah, or treadmill.
treadmill's
I
the
swear those
worst.
minutes they're not equal.
No,
Um,
actually mine would be elliptical. I'll be on there
oh, the
dying and
elliptical.
then
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and then the minutes are just I'm already dying. I'm like, surely it's been 15 minutes. 5 minutes, really? Gosh.
The worst one is the stepper, and then for some reason, I every stepper machine I found in the gym. You know how the gyms have those like the office ceiling cladding, right? So it kind of
Yeah,
lifts
yeah,
up,
yeah.
right? So I'm too tall for the stepper machine. So what will happen is that I lift up the ceiling, and I'm like,
That's
right.
gross. You get to see all
So
the
I'm
dust.
like, do I just Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, do I just like step on from the floor onto the first step or what? Like, yeah. Anyway, so typical gym owners that do not think about how to accommodate people of all heights. So yes.
Right,
Anyway.
right.
All right. I think we are live. Let me just check that we're actually recording. I'm going to record now.
Awesome.
She's done that before.
This meeting is being recorded.
Fantastic. All right. Welcome everybody who has joined us live. I appreciate that most of my audience are probably still slaving it out for the final few hours before the weekend. So hopefully you get to catch the replay of this on your way home or so on. I am, for those who have joined, obviously you know who I am. I hope you know who I am since I've been in the group since the beginning. But anyway, I'm Amy and I am joined today by the lovely Christine from Stormfit, who is a little pocket rocket powerhouse from Melbourne. Awesome PT. He's got some good things going on with the business and has a very interesting personal journey plus approach to fitness, which I really love. So we're going to spend some time talking to Christine, a little bit about her story, some of the things that she's overcome and what she's really passionate about and how she helps others now. So for those who haven't seen the emails and the social media blasts and so on, my intent with these sort of guest speaker sessions is to gently expose you with some really awesome peers in the industry because I think one thing that's often overlooked is that personal training or personal coaches, there's a personal element to it, and you might connect with someone or resonate with someone that you might not have access to. So this is the purpose of this, the idea, so that you guys are finding the right fit for you if you want to make that next step and really accelerate your health and fitness goals for 2022. And also to give you some ideas as well, because, I don't need an army of bodybuilders out there. There are other approaches to fitness that can be fun and that you can enjoy life a little bit more without the rigid dieting and regime that comes with bodybuilding. So, anyway, without any further ado, again, I've done this thing where I talk forever on the podcast and forget that my whole purpose of having a guest speaker is so I do less speaking. So over to you, Christine. How about you give us a little brief overview of yourself? You can start anywhere because I'm sure we'll go in a glorious loop and journey through this next 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, awesome. So, where to start? Well, my name is Christine, and I am, I own a business called Stormfit Coaching, and I was never the fit kid growing up. I always remember, and this is a statement I always say at the start, because growing up, I used to look at PTs, I used to look at coaches, and I'm like, oh wow, they've always been fit. And even in my 20s, I would look at coaches and I'm like, of course they'll get there because they're always fit. Like they've always been born fit. And I always had this concept of it. I was one of the bigger girls growing up. And when I say bigger, I use inverted commas because looking back, I was not big at all. I was definitely geared for sports. But in the culture where I grew up in, amongst my friends, I looked the biggest. Think of an Asian culture, everyone's quite slender and quite, some are quite, tall. So they add into that lankiness look. And so right beside them, I would look quite large comparatively. And in that culture as well, everyone's about being skinny. It wasn't even about being toned, it was literally about being skinny. So I was actually introduced to dieting at the age of 13, um, by
Wow.
a medical health professional.
Wow. And in Australia or
No, in Malaysia. Yeah.
in
So I grew
Malaysia?
up
Yeah,
in
okay.
Malaysia. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they
okay.
were, I guess they claimed me overweight. I don't remember my weight back then, so I couldn't speak for it. However, I was put on something I believe akin to the Atkins diet.
Really, at such a young age. Wow.
Yeah, so my memories of it was my biggest memory and my most horrifying memory, actually, truly. It was, I don't know if you know much about the Asian kind of culture with eating. So what it is we get our own plate of rice normally, or bowl of rice, and then you have all the dishes in the middle and kind of sit there with the family. While I was on this, we would always have dinner as a family, everyone together. And I perfectly remember a piece of fried chicken, just drumstick, just one on my plate, and then my meal replacement shake on the side. And that was all I was allowed to have in front of my
Wow.
family eating this amazing spread of food on the table.
Yeah. So
And
and then did your family take you to the doctor that gave, or the medical professional that gave you the diet?
yeah, my mother basically, yeah, she
Yeah,
was very
right.
worried about how I would look, and so she took me there.
Yeah. So how did that make you feel as well? Because, one, you've been sort of singled out within the family as not fitting their ideal. And obviously I'm not suggesting that that didn't come from, potentially a place of love and that sort of thing. Um, then sometimes our parents don't know better, and they, inflict um, outdated ideals and also their own trauma onto us, which is something else we'll get into, because I forgot to mention as well that Christine is actually a qualified NLP coach. Very useful skill to have. But anyway, we'll park that one for now. Um, and then to be on a rigid diet or a restrictive diet, and Atkins is quite extreme in my opinion, but obviously that was the rage sort of the 90s, anyway. Um, and then to sort of be like kind of ostracized in such an important, because my limited understanding of Asian culture, and just for your context, Christine, because I haven't let this know, my middle name's actually Mei Ling, so my mum's actually 5'3", China, Chinese Singaporean, who definitely has that, eat more, then why are you so fat, kind of
Yes.
kind of mentality. So totally understand, to a little bit. I can relate to a degree. But yeah, to like the food piece is such an important bonding from a cultural and family perspective. So how did that make you feel?
Honestly, like you said, looking back, I know it came from a place of love. I know it came from a place of also worry, obviously health worries. We do have family kind of health issues, high cholesterol and hypertension. So that was always something that was a worry. So I kind of understand where she came from, obviously from a less knowledgeable background in terms of food and eating, but it was very ostracizing. I am also the youngest, so there's a 9-year age gap already between me and my like brother, so it
Wow.
definitely worked towards um not pushing me away as such, but definitely feeling picked on, without
Yeah.
realizing it. So there was a little
Yeah.
bit of resentment. I won't lie, there was definitely a little bit of resentment, and a few other things that happened through the years as well. With weight loss, there was a specific there was a rage in Asia. I don't think it ever reached Australia, so I don't know about different countries. And this was something I never divulged to any of my friends because I was too embarrassed. Where you would go to this clinic. It was very clinical. And I don't know whether it was a true clinic, so it could be a beauty clinic. And you would have this, you'd be put into almost a cubicle, really tiny room, and just enough for like a wall bench and maybe a table for a cup of tea. And it was freezing, so about 16 degrees or lower Celsius. And then they would wrap you strip down to your underwear, and then they wrap your body with like treated linen. I would say treated because it was always wet and always came from a bucket of liquid. And they would wrap it quite tightly, in the hopes that you could firm your body. I'm actually not too sure why we did that, but I know it was definitely a body shaping thing. And then you would
Right.
sit there for like maybe an hour or so, freezing your butt off. So remember, this is wet linen in like 16 degrees and less, air conditioned, and and you had a cup of tea trying to keep warm. That was it.
Wow. And how was that experience for you?
I was eager at the start because I was like, okay, I'm gonna change my body. I get to look thin. And as it continued, I was like the secrecy of it all, and um you know, I think the secrecy was the worst because it truly made me feel completely embarrassed.
Mm.
And I was like, I think that's why I'm more open with a lot of my journey now. It's because I was really embarrassed. I was like, there must be something wrong with me. Why are we hiding this? Like, am I not meant to be like this? And then it just started to build, amongst all the dieting and amongst, like you said, come and eat. And then why are you eating so much, right? Which is very normal. It really gave me I wouldn't claim it as body dysmorphia because it's not diagnosed, but it definitely gave me a bad image of my body. I actually despised how I look. And to be completely honest, I don't even remember how I looked back then when I looked in the mirror. So I don't know if I truly looked in the mirror growing up.
Yeah, right, because you're so ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow. And then, so I think this is the part where, reading a little bit about your journey and some of the brief interactions that we've had so far. I think this is the bit that, really resonated with me and I think a lot of our audience will relate to as well, is that, that started for you in your early teens.
Yes.
Um, what sort of impact did that have in your later teenage and early 20s?
A lot. I definitely struggled with my relationship with food. I would go from starving myself to completely binge eating, and like eating as if I had never eaten for like 5 days or something. I would eat a lot. um I hated food at the same time. I loved food. It was my comfort. And yeah, I hid behind that a lot. So I would say it had a huge impact on my mental health. I think it was going into my 20s, which I think everything compounded in my 20s. So there's usually I don't know about a lot of people, but I know for me there was a build up, and then I was lucky enough to go on exchange, to an exchange year in Switzerland, and I saw like a different style of living, like a healthy aspect. Everyone was really healthy. There was always some form of veg or salad at every meal that we had, and like everyone was just sporty. Like they would do something, some form of movement. While that exposed me to a lot, it didn't actually inspire me because I was already quite low. It
Yeah.
actually serves to show me all my shortcomings. So, people can go upside down on monkey bars. I was never allowed on monkey bars. Um,
Yeah, so it was almost polarizing and you felt like you didn't fit in or belong.
yeah, and then in like gym class in school in Switzerland, we would always learn new sports. So I would get really excited until I realized I couldn't do a lot of things. There was even a session, I remember like a gymnastic session where it wasn't super gymnastic, by the way. It was just like, okay, climb, go upside down and hold on and then do some crunches if you can. I couldn't even get upside down. I couldn't even get like anywhere close to the bar. And it was just demoralizing for me.
Yeah.
And that kind of compounded when I moved to Australia on my own, and was living on my own, and I did not have anyone to look after me. Not that I needed to, but it was more of like I didn't know what a lifestyle would be, what a healthy living would be, anything. So I just ate out all the time. I hid in my room, I didn't move, and yeah, I just kind of started spiraling into this huge mental health, depression, anxiety, everything compounded.
Yeah. So you kind of felt really disconnected and really isolated and ashamed the whole time, really. Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. And
Huge.
it
And and
was,
and oh, and you didn't even have time to really kind of appreciate, like, there's not many people who have the guts and the bravery to, oh, hey, I'm just going to go to Switzerland and live in a completely different culture and to adopt that, and then I'm going to move to a completely different country and it'll be all sweet, and I won't have any of my family or my friends there. Um, and that type of guts and tenacity and resilience is, something that you probably completely overlooked because of, I guess, all this, other stuff that's been happening. So, yeah, okay. So, what was the turning point for you then, Christine?
the turning point was, I think, around, so it wasn't fully a turning point, but a huge kind of like, I guess, red alert sign, with the alarms and alarm bells and stuff, was when I was actually hospitalized for my own safety at 21. Most people spend their 21st birthday celebrating. I literally was sent to hospital a day after my 21st birthday.
Oh, wow. And how long were you in there for?
I was in, and I think you only have like, I can't quite remember either. I think the first time I was in there for maybe 2-ish weeks, and then it was in and out for the next 2 or 3 years, give or take. And usually it's like maybe 3 to 5 days, sometimes over a week. And I would definitely say that it, when people say, when people go to prison and they're institutionalized and they come out, they would do anything it took to go back in. That was how me and quite a number of peers at the time in the facilities actually felt in the hospital, because they would
So,
we were just put in there and there was nothing, so you kind of sat with your thoughts and then thrown out into the world and then come back in again because you couldn't handle the
yeah.
world.
Yeah, so you had a
And
bit of like Stockholm syndrome, and it was kind of like, oh, well, we don't know what to do with you, but at least there you kind of felt like you belonged because there was
yeah,
other people doing the same thing, and that, at least you didn't have to face the scary world.
yeah.
Wow. So not exactly a particularly helpful way of getting through things. Okay, so you had that, took a few
Mm-hmm.
years to get through that, and then, so if I'm reading that correctly as well, and sorry if this is hitting a nerve, so tell me to back off. But
Mm-hmm.
so you're at such your self-esteem and your sense of self-worth and everything that you were going through was at such a point that you were actually, self-harming or at risk of self-harming. Is that what I'm hearing, right? Or
Well, I guess trigger warning to the people, please close your ears for the next few seconds if you get triggered. However, I was literally suicidal. I didn't see myself living past 21, which was one of the reasons why I was put in. And then I didn't see myself living past 25.
wow. Okay. Yeah, okay. That's pretty powerful. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you hit rock bottom
Mm-hmm.
and then you're kind of stuck in this kind of vicious loop.
Yeah.
So how did you crawl yourself out of that?
It was quite interesting because at some point in the hospital, I started reading again. And mind you, it was fantasy, it was fiction. It wasn't really self-help help books. However, the type of fantasy fiction I was reading always had some form of empowering female character or the life journey. And then I realized that I was getting back into things I was passionate about, which one of them is reading, as you can see this kind of bookshelf behind me. And so I started exploring little things, because even though I was in and out, I would always kind of explore movement. So I tried to take up pole dancing at one point. I was way too big. My feet kept bruising too quickly and I just gave up. I tried a lot of things. And one of the things that really stuck with me was I did a beginner's course in aerial arts in NICA, the National Institute of Circus Arts. And it was just like an adult kind of fun course at the end, like in the evening. It was once a week. And what shocked me was it didn't matter how I felt. Might not turn up to uni, I might turn up to anything, I would be in my depths of the depths, I would still turn up to class. It also didn't matter that I was the biggest there, I was the weakest there, I couldn't get any of the tricks, I still turned up. And that to me kind of sparked something in my head. It kind of was like, oh, what's this? And from there, I started looking around. I was like, this is something, this must be something interesting. And I found a personal trainer online who said he could help with circus arts. And I asked him, is this even possible? Mind you, I was like 20 something at a time. Like more often than not, you know, I understand that, you know, gymnasts and circus artists are really young. So I thought this was not possible. And he told me something that I wouldn't have expected to hear is, yes, I believe that I can get you there. And I was like, someone believes in me. I can get here. And I was really shocked because one, this was something I was passionate in. I think it was just the movement, actually. I realized that even as a kid, I would like to move, but also was told not to move. And so I had this whole belief system in my head where it was like, yes, let's do. Oh, no. Yes, let's. Oh, no. You know, so it kind of happened in my adulthood as well. And so that's where everything started and this whole fitness journey started.
Yeah, right. That's fascinating. And then what was the, you know, what is it about the aerial fitness like that you felt safe to explore and to just let loose there? Was, you know, was there anything around the classes and the people that ran it as well that kept you there, or you just sort of self-motivated at that time?
You know what? I think it was both. It was there were two instructors at the start and they were so inspiring. They did it, there was no demotivating, there was just constant happy cheers at the little wins that I would have. Like I would maybe lift my knees a little bit higher or get really close to the bar, like when you're lifting your legs up to the trapeze, and get like closer than before, and they would like be screaming at me like, yes, oh my god, yes, you're so close. And it was just always so exciting. I remember when I did like my first climb like on the silks, just one off the ground, and everyone was literally screaming. I nearly fell off in shock, not, you know, onto a crash mat, but it was kind of like all of that exciting things, and people celebrating my wins. I think it was the community as well. And with each celebration, I think that kept triggering something good in me, because the more I did it, the more I climbed out of the mental health and the spiral.
Yeah, you started to see a different path forward, right? You got that
Mm-hmm.
reaffirmation that things could be
Yeah.
different. And then taking a step to get a personal trainer is quite significant, considering that you battled for a lot of what you were doing on your own, you know, in secrecy and, you know, hiding in your room, or, you know, having to hide that you were going to a clinic and all those sorts of things. So what gave you the confidence to kind of reach out and even get your own personal trainer?
Well, I actually have had personal trainers in the past. I was one of those people that would pay the 10 packs and never turn up. Or turn up for 2 sessions and never turn up again. Or I was always a stop start. I was always drawn back to movement. So in high school, I was actually playing sports, but as much as I could, that I was allowed to. So it was kind of one of those that I realized I was drawn to movement. What got me was I had a goal to work towards. And it had nothing to do with weight loss. For
Yes.
me, it was I want to get better at aerial
Yeah.
arts. I want to get, and I knew that obviously, watching all the other students, some of them, there was this amazing lady who does rock climbing amongst, I think she was like a scientist and she did rock climbing. Her body was like amazing, and she did all of the stuff on the trapeze, and I was like, oh my god, I want to get there. And that's what got me, like, yes, I took that step. And then having a trainer that actually believed in me rather than going through the motions of, yeah, okay, so we'll do this exercise. And it's like, no, you got to do it. This is why, keep going, and that really made a difference. It actually felt like I had a cheerleader.
Yeah. So, and then I think the key thing that I'm picking up there as well is that, and you picked up on it yourself, was that you disaggregated movement from weight loss and you put a healthier association towards progression, because you're someone that can achieve and does achieve, So when you were able to see, actually, I just enjoy this for the sake of enjoying it and I'm working towards a different goal, it kind of just really changed that whole dynamic for you, right? It wasn't a,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I mean, we definitely had a weight loss goal because it was explained, of course, if you want to fly, if you want to go into aerials, or if you want to do circus arts and you want to be a base and a flyer, so flyer is the people that get like flipped in the air, then you need to be lighter. But it wasn't you need to be thinner. It was
Yeah, to be
you
loved.
need to be lighter
Yeah.
to do this,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
to do
know.
something that you enjoy for you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. All right. And then so once you flipped the dialogue and started going down this path, um, then what changed for you? Like how quickly did the weight loss come?
Oh wow, I stuck to so many things that I had tried before. So at the start we did calorie counting and I stuck to it. It was a journey, I won't lie. It was a huge journey. It was difficult. I worked in hospitality at the time alongside studying as well. I was studying full time and then trying to fit everything in. It was insane. And I somehow managed to work it. So at the start, I lost about 15, 20, no, actually, I think I lost close to 25 kilos. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and built some muscle. Now, it wasn't, I'm probably the strongest I have been ever now. But definitely we went for the slightly quicker method, and still built enough muscle for me to be able to do aerial stuff. Um, I did have a few injuries through the process, which built my resiliency. Because at one point I was truly contemplating, oh my God, I can never do this ever again. So I did have a few bounce backs. My mental resilience was definitely tested over the years. And I even did a mock prep at one point for
Oh, really?
bodybuilding, just a mock. I've never competed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so I had a few bumps along the way, but I've definitely yeah, I think I lost the 25 kilos within maybe a year and a half or two
Yeah,
years,
that's
I think.
huge. That's an awesome effort. Yeah. Wow. Hold on. I just can't even imagine you now with 25 kilos on you. I'm like, where would that even, I just can't see it. But
Yeah.
yeah, wow. So you're the strongest now and you're at a comfortable, healthy weight, and
Mhm.
feeling good in your body now. Yeah, right. Okay, so then the NLP stuff. So okay, well, that's your personal journey. So then what inspired you to then become a fitness trainer, and where did the NLP piece, there's two questions here, so take as much time as you need. And then when did the NLP piece come into it?
Yeah, okay. So what inspired me to be a trainer? I actually, honestly, even though I was in hospital and I had mental health issues, I was a psychology student. I studied psychology and criminology in uni. And the thing was, being a patient actually opened my eyes to the system that was here. And also, having grown up in Malaysia and knowing the ideas of mental health there, I've realized that me as a singular person, while I can impact some people, I wouldn't actually necessarily help a lot of people. And
Mm,
my thing has always been service. That's why I was in hospitality for a few years as well. And so halfway through, I Again, disclaimer, please speak to your health professional about this if people are watching. But halfway through, through chasing my goals I actually wanted to audition for NICA. So I did actually want to go into Circus Arts University. Those who don't know what NICA is. I actually stopped medication, so I didn't need medication anymore. So not just stopped immediately, but I definitely didn't need it. I was in a very solid place. And then I looked back and I was like, oh my God, this is actually what I needed to get to where I am now and to get on firm ground. And I know, and I could see huge spaces of growth going further. And I was like, I can help people with this. I can inspire people. I can, and that was what my drive was, my passion with fitness. And I wanted to, I guess, still go alongside of helping people, but in a better way, because I was like, if I can help them move and they can get better with their mental health, that's already what I was actually meant to study as and what I can help people. And that was where I first started studying for fitness and wanted to be like the best coach I could be. In terms of NLP, I came across it when I say recently, I meant in like the past year or so. And it was something that I don't know if you believe in this, but sometimes life just guides you in a way where it just drops into your lap and you just gotta either take it or you lose the opportunity. And that's literally what happened to me. So after a few years of COVID, and I had to readjust my mental health as well. Pre-COVID, there was a few rocky things in my life that had hit me and really made me down. So with I auditioned for NICA and I would have gotten in. However, during my audition piece, I actually blew my knee out. My ACL, my ACL died. My knee, I jumped and landed, my knee overextended backwards and inwards. Yeah. And so I burst into tears, but not from the pain. It was more from realizing my dreams were gone and that I probably could never get in again. And that was a whole journey, a whole different journey of mental resilience of can I do this? Can I go forward, etc. What are other avenues? And so after all of that and having a whole rocky situation happen in my life, I realized that mindset is important. And then realizing that sometimes there are tools there that can help you, that doesn't get rid of old beliefs and get rid of any beliefs that are holding you back without needing to visit the trauma, without needing to visit the situation and being like, oh, woe is me, or holding on to the story. And so I started exploring into it because a lot of my clients, I think my defining factor actually with NLP and actually deciding to do it was one of my ex-clients. She bumped into me outside the gym once we restarted, and she was like, oh, everything that we did at the gym has made me stronger. And I was like, that's great, obviously, like, amazing. And she was like, not as you think, but it's made me stronger as a person. You gave me so much more confidence. And I was like, oh my God, I do more at the gym than just work on their physique, because I talk to them about life, because I've always believed that, and I've always believed that you can't just leave your life outside the door at the gym. You will come in with it. It doesn't matter how hard you try, you will come in with it.
And that's it. We don't operate in a vacuum, right? And your body is going to respond to different things around stress, your resilience, even the belief of what you can and can't do, and even how much sleep you've had, and life is going to get in the way. So it's around how do you work with that rather than fighting against it all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And so I started looking into it. And then funnily enough, I got a scholarship. I decided to just apply, and I got a scholarship in to actually study NLP. And everything's just like, it was just everything just happened. And I look back and I realized that, yes, well, some people will need, might need their therapy, might need to go through things. There are some other people where that might not work. And so this is where it is, because sometimes all we have to do is just confront our beliefs. But there are easier ways than fighting them. you know, and
Yeah.
having the tools needed was so good. Like I let go of so much in the past year. It was ridiculous. Like my confidence boosted. I think, I know I've you know, it's weird to say, but last year was the first time in my life I was ever able to look at myself in the mirror, dead set in my eyes, and said, I love you. And that to me was
That's
huge.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, considering, yeah, the journey that you went on for, you know, a good 10 years in that space. So, yeah, that's amazing. And then I think that's a good, there's a couple of things I want to touch on. So one, I think it sounds like that you've probably been dabbling a little bit in sort of quantum physics there, and potentially down the path of like a Joe Dispenza and so on. And so, yes, to your question, yes, I do believe that there is an element around, you know, energy affects matter, and, you know, and things will come into your life depending on how, you know, you open yourself up for that and also recognize those opportunities. So yes, and this isn't meant to be a lecture for anyone listening on, you know, quantum physics, but Joe Dispenza, really read or listen to his stuff. It's amazing.
Yes.
And then I think, yeah, what I really like is the NLP stuff, and the movement. So I feel like for you, that was kind of a marriage of two things, because, you know, NLP, I mean, realistically, when I've had a look at some of that, and you'll have to excuse my rudimentary understanding because I haven't done the scholarly background that you have, but when I did my HR studies, you know, obviously we touch on a lot of sociology, anthropology, psychology, and all those sorts of things. NLP is really just taking those mental models around our personality and everything like that, and it's reframing. It's the same, it's just a different way, but what they've done is they've taken all that theory and just put it into a more practical model, from what I can see. So I see that with your psychology background, and also your very personal, powerful story, and your gravitation towards movement, that's such a perfect marriage for you. So I'm glad that that's all come together. So seems like you've been having some great wins as well in the coaching space, and you've got quite a niche clientele, I guess. So do you want to tell us a little bit around that?
Yeah, so I aim to work with like driven women, like women who are truly ready to take the step into what I call the driver's seat of their life. Because so many times we're told, and I guess this is from my own journey and also the culture that I'm in, is like, yeah, just whatever happens, or you know, everyone else comes first and you come second, or if you even come second at all. And I help women get that confidence back in themselves. And I always like to use the words, I work from the outside in as well as the inside out, being that the outside in is more of what you do with a personal trainer. You know, you go do the exercise, you learn how to eat and all of that. And the inside out is more from the kind of mental capacity, the subconscious, the conscious, the belief systems. Because I find that if you truly get out of your own way, you stop self-sabotaging by realizing there are so many different ways to do it, then you can go so far. You know, life doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah, amazing. Wow. So what's next for you then? So I see that you've done some amazing things. So you're expanding your business. You've launched a podcast. You've got an amazing website. So clear. I was like,
Oh, thank you.
wow, I need to find out who did her website because this is just amazing. And yeah, you've got obviously some, you know, some coaching programs and so on. So what's next in the expanding world of Christine?
Oh, what's next? Indeed, there's just I don't know, there's like so much growth coming in that I'm always in awe of what's coming in. So this year I feel is going to be huge. I'm actually planning to just putting everything in the works right now to do like a little webinar coming up, like some free information, being able to teach other people and see where my business grows. I'm finding that harmony in life, basically,
Yeah.
and I would love to be able to help others do the same. And so it'd be interesting where it goes next. That the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, so with the, and just to clarify as well, for personal training, you do that in a gym, you don't, or do you do aerial fitness training?
As in teaching.
Yeah. Or do you, I mean, obviously I know you do online coaching and so on as well, but I think, well, one of the things that really resonated with me is that you're the same as me, right? It's like, it's not about, don't copy and paste the exercises that I'm doing, or you know, I'm not going to give you a generic plan, because we've got to find the exercise or the movement that you enjoy, and find something that's not a chore. It's something you would just gravitate normally, you know, because you want to experience how your body reacts to things. So, yeah, so I just wanted to get at that you don't necessarily teach or get people into aerial fitness, you get them into all sorts of different kinds of fitness, right?
Yeah, so I encourage people to find some form of movement they enjoy, understanding that's what can drive them to success. Of course, depending on their activity, strength training will complement that. And as we know, building muscle is important in all forms of health. So we work that into it. However, we will always find something that drives them first.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm always looking for the passions, what's interesting. And for those who've never started at all, it's like, cool, let's just start at home. Don't even worry about the gym. Let's see what movement you can have at home. And then we work on from there. And so far, most of the people who started off at home are now like itching to get to the gym.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, cool. I always remind them, if they have passion somewhere else, or if it starts feeling like a chore, then maybe look for something else, other movement-based stuff where the gym can complement it. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, I like to use the terms where for those of you who play instruments and stuff like that, I use piano terms or guitar terms. The fingering and the chord placement is always practice and always annoying. Similarly, the scales and arpeggios on piano, that's the boring stuff, but that gets you to where you can be of playing amazing music and stuff. And similarly, once you find your passion in some form of movement, the home workouts or the gym workouts will get you there, but otherwise, it's, if you don't have a passion, it is going to be a bit.
But if you connect it to a greater goal around what you want to do, then you'll keep doing it and you won't think about it. You're just building the basics. Yeah,
exactly.
love it. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, well, I wish you the luck. Look, feel free as well, because you're part of our community as well, to socialize the webinar when you drop in that, because that would be great. For those on the call as well, don't forget that I've got some webinars coming up. It's cheesy names, but I'm basically doing a 3-part webinar series. It's all free, basically on motivation mastery. So we've got woke willpower, and then we've got whipping discipline's butt, as a 3-part series. So lots of cheesy puns, some really tacky pictures, and me talking what would you love about all of those things. So for those listening, don't forget those events are on. Keep an eye out for Christine's programs and webinars that she's dropping as well. We'll also make sure that we've got a link to her website in the group. And now that you have seen the face behind the name, feel free as well to reach out directly to her, or if you have any questions, shoot them through. I'm sure we can get Christine on for a live chat as well to answer some Q&A and things like that as well. And as I've mentioned to some of my other guests as well, at some point I want to do a different type of live event where I want to get entrepreneurial women such as yourself, who have managed to, change their life and own a business that's some shape or form related to fitness or health and fitness, and just understand, some of the journey around that piece, because I think that in itself is a whole nother journey and story, and lesson in resilience, right? So and how you manage that, and how it's changed your life, and that sort of thing as well. So look, thank you so much for your time. That was amazing. This is like this is how the best coffee chats ever, because like I get to really get to know people, but then all I'm doing is sitting at my computer or taking a break from work. So this is great.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me. I like truly an honor. You are definitely an inspiration for me as well.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I was hoping to come over in April for the comps, but State Daddy has closed the borders again. So not sure if that's going to happen. So yeah, I might just be doing a local comp, but we'll see. But yeah, if definitely if I'm over there, we'll catch up for sure. And really keen to see all the exciting things you do this year. And yeah, please stay in touch.
Yes, for sure. Love it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording.